Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reading out loud my Yale essays, the secondary essays. I'm making these videos because I want them to be as helpful as possible, kind of show you some things to do, some things not to do, some sample essays, some breakdowns, things like that. You can check out all my other read alouds for all my other college essays on this channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Naman. I'm a first-year medical student at Washington University. I've been editing essays on and off for the past 5 years, and it's something I'm really, really passionate about. So yeah, let's just get started. So the first prompt is, why do these areas appeal to you? So they asked me, what are your interests over here? And the first one I said was neuroscience. Second one was molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. The third was chemistry. So they had a drop-down menu, and you could kind of choose which ones you wanted. I'm just going to read this out loud now. Why do these areas appeal to you? The brain has long intrigued me. I am astonished that sublime emotional experiences and great intellectual pursuits are rooted in the simple firing of neurotransmitters and bits of DNA. Access to complex technology during my internship enabled me to help map the very program that underlies consciousness. Reading primary articles from my mentor's neurobiology reading list inspired me to understand the very source of behavior on a molecular level. Ironically, the brain became somewhat of a puzzle to me, something that that meticulously choreographs our every action and demonstrates immense capacity to learn, yet something we understand so little about. All right, so if you've watched the other videos on my channel, you'll know that this is a pretty common prompt, pretty common essay that keeps showing up, just because this type of question shows up in almost every single secondary essay from all the colleges, which is they're all curious to know, what are you interested in, and they ask it in a million different ways. Sometimes they ask, um, like, why do these areas appeal to you? Sometimes they ask, how have you explored the things that you're interested in? Sometimes they ask, why did you select this as your choice of major? All these sorts of things, but usually they're going to ask some sort of question that is, what are you interested in? And most people don't really know what they're interested in for sure. And I can tell you that, neuroscience wasn't the only thing that I was interested in. I was interested in a couple of other things too. But it's important to be able to understand why they're asking this question. And ultimately, why they're asking this question is they want to know, not necessarily what you're interested in, but what you've done to be able to explore your intellectual curiosity. And if you can understand that, you're already ahead of 90% of the people writing this essay, because people try to answer like, I'm interested in math, and math is really interesting to me, etc., etc. But really, what they're curious about is, what have you done to explore your intellectual curiosity? So, if you're interested in math, what have you done to be able to ask your teacher questions, for stay after to ask some questions, read some articles, watch some YouTube videos, read the textbook, maybe get ahead in your class, maybe get some tutoring, or maybe tutor other people, maybe work on a project by yourself. Maybe, like what I did, is reach out to a mentor at a college and ask them if you can do research with them. And essentially, if you can do something like that, where you can explain some sort of project you worked on, or explain how you became intellectually curious in that field, this essay becomes pretty strong, because now you actually have something to explain what you're interested in. And if you want to go even one step beyond that, you want to explain, what are some future questions that you want to address? What are some future areas that you want to explore? How will you expand your curiosity at college? And so if you can show that you're doing that, you're basically showing that you're curious, you take a lot of initiative, and that you're going to be a good fit for that college, because they're looking for somebody who's going to take advantage of the resources that they present. And if you've already been able to do something outside the classroom to be able to ask questions and figure out why you're interested in the things that you're interested in and what exactly interests you, then you're gonna be a student that they're interested in accepting. So that's essentially kind of my thoughts on how to approach these types of essays. All right, let's move on to the second one, which is, why Yale? And if we're talking about common essay prompts, this is also a very common essay prompt, which is, why X? Which is, why do you want to apply to our school? And for this one, it's why Yale, but they ask this in a million different ways, but you kind of know immediately that they're going to ask the why X question. A good tip I had before reading this out loud is that I want you to not use the words like if I were accepted into Yale, then I would be a student. Like, you want to just kind of assume that you've been accepted and explain what you would do as an accepted student. So as I was, or like you could see, like, I want to contribute, I want to conduct, these types of things where you're just kind of already assuming that you've been accepted and you're explaining what you would want to do at that school rather than if I were accepted, because that just wastes a lot of words and that's not very strong writing. Okay, I'm going to read this out loud. As I was perusing a book on Galileo's reflecting telescope in the star reading room at Yale last year, I noticed the library's permeating focus and unbridled enthusiasm. Behind me, two students were quietly engaged in a discussion about the paradoxical nature of the internet and its effect on the daily life. I have since learned about Yale's empowering residential system, the elite debate association, and the unparalleled Beneke Library. At Yale, I want to conduct cutting-edge research on neurodegeneration with Dr. Jung-Hoo Lim. I want to serve New Haven through Urban Improvement Corps and Urban Debate League. I want to contribute to Yale's Journal of Political Thought, but most importantly, I want to join a world community of talented visionaries and vivacious team leaders. All right. So I actually do think I could have been a little bit more detailed and specific here. These shorter why us essays are always a little bit tough because you want to try to balance your own interest with like what you're going to do at that school. And so when you have not enough space, you kind of have to focus on the school itself and exactly what interests you. And here I was kind of giving an introduction that I personally know something about Yale because I was there and this was my personal experience. And then I tried to give some specifics about exactly what I would do as a student. So I would want to do some cutting edge research. I would want to do Urban Improvement Corps and Urban Debate League, and I would want to be a part of this journal. And ultimately, you can kind of see that if I'm reflecting on it 5, 6 years later, there's some sentences that I could take out and wouldn't really change anything. So if I took this out, for example, this entire sentence, then I wouldn't really change the meaning of anything. So I could have replaced that with a sentence that's a little bit more specific and explain what exactly interests me. Even like the empowering residential system or the unparalleled library, these are kind of a little bit vaguer things. And if you want to write a really strong essay, you want to kind of focus on the specifics about how that school interests you and exactly what you would want to do as a school. So good examples of this is like the exact research I would want to work on, or like the clubs that I'm interested in, or the exact journal that I'm interested in, and expanding upon these specific things about how I would want to participate in those things really explains why I'm interested in that school. So the more specific you can be, the better. The more you're showing about what your interests are and what type of student you would be at that school. And you're also showing off that you know something about that school. So try to be more specific. All right. These are some short questions. I guess I can read them out loud. What inspires you? John Connor in The Terminator inspires me when he claims the future is unwritten. It is exhilarating yet frightening to realize that the future is constantly unfolding and I can guide its path. They say that essentially this question is who would you want to invite to speak and what questions would you ask them? And it could be somebody who was from the past. And I mentioned John Locke because his assertion that our minds are blank slates frightens me and suggests that identity is meaningless. Can moral actions always be attributed to something external and arbitrary? All right. The third one, you are teaching a Yale course, what is called? I was really into The Weeknd at the time, so I wrote Voice of an Angel, Lyrics of the Devil, How the Weeknd's lyrics changed normative masculine identity in hip-hop culture. And then the fourth one is most first-year Yale students in suites live in suites of 4 to 6 students. What would you contribute to the dynamic of your suite? A legendary 11-hour self-made Spotify list, philosophical insight to elucidate humor behind existential comics, dance tutorials for finger tutting and break dance, compassion and friendship. So I kind of just made a list, and you can kind of see that it mentioned a lot of my interests. Like I like to read existential comics, and I had some philosophical insights. I had a Spotify playlist. I like to dance, and I want to be compassionate and friendly. And so you can kind of see that I was trying to include as much details as possible. All right, and the last essay is that I'm reading out loud is the topic number 2, which is I think it was the topic was what is a event or a club that's been really meaningful for me, and this is what I wrote. Put simply, debate for me is a transformational experience. On our Lincoln Douglas debate team, frustration over perplexing work is transformed into team spirit, budding ideas are transformed to full-fledged arguments, and sleepy eyes are transformed into determined ones, ready to audaciously question the status quo. As a devoted four-year member and now captain, I have helped the team itself transform in both quantity by growing it from 5 students to over 70 and quality by mentoring several younger students of classes. I have led the club in a leadership capacity since my 10th grade and have taught debate, judged rounds, and written an expansive handbook to which every novice debater refers to for learning the fundamentals. I'll move myself out of the way. I revamped our team's curriculum to include drills to enhance public speaking and cross-examination skills. To spur interest in debate, I created an introductory curriculum this past year and coached my local middle school debate team. Although debate is one person against the other, I tell incoming debaters that the team sport is omnipresent, whether in addressing their endless late-night philosophical quandaries about Derrida or congratulating them about their performance. Amid all this, I have myself been transformed. From every judge, teammate, and opponent, I have learned something new, and I take pride that over the years, I too became a role model for others in the community. My fondest hope is that they can enjoy a similar transformation. All right, so I kind of wanted to mention debate in one of these prompts, and this was my opportunity. And I wanted to talk more about the leadership role that I had rather than the actual experience of being in debate rounds. And so that's kind of what I focused on as the captain of the debate team, the things that I was able to do. And if I'm reflecting on it in ways that I can improve it, I could have kind of focused more on an anecdote or a narrative for this bulk of this quantity, because it's really easy to kind of skim through this and ignore some of the details of what I'm saying. But if I focus on maybe somebody who I interacted with or a couple of people who I interacted with and how I kind of helped them and like and I could kind of weave together the things that I'd done in the debate. But overall, this is still a pretty good essay in terms of kind of having a structure and explaining what I was doing and what debate means to me. And I think the strength of this essay is kind of focusing on like focusing on simple answers, simple sentences that answer the question. So you can see that I start out saying that it's a transformational experience, and then over here I say that I've been transformed myself, and I say that other people I hope that can enjoy a similar transformation. So you can kind of see that there is a structure to this essay, to this very short essay. So again, if I wanted to improve it, I would kind of focus a little bit more on weaving an anecdote or weaving a narrative into this body bulk. But otherwise, that's kind of my advice for approaching these types of essays that ask, what is a meaningful experience for you, or what is a meaningful activity that you've participated in over the past 4 years? All right, that's all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you want professional essay editing, I also offer that. You can see that somewhere down below as well. And I hope you have a really great day. If you want to check out the other videos on this channel, those are also available. And see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.